لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله.
If you ask me what my book is that I hold in my hand, if you ask me what my book is, it's the Holy Qur'an, the Holy Qur'an.
نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم من قرأ حرفا من كتاب الله فله به حسنة والحسنة بعشر أمثالها لا أقول ألف لام ميم حرف ولكن ألف حرف ولام حرف وميم حرف أو كما قال صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وأزواجه وذرياته. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the guidance of mankind, sent many Rusul, many Anbiya, many messengers, many Anbiya alayhimus salatu wassalam. The first of whom is Sayyiduna Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, and the last of whom is Sayyiduna Khatamun Nabiyyin Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. After Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, there is no Nabi. The chain of prophethood ended upon the advent of our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The Qur'an says, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدٌ أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ وَلَكِنْ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَخَاتَمَ النَّبِيِّينَ. وَخَاتَمَ النَّبِيِّينَ. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is the final from the prophets, or is the seal of the prophets. He is the final from the prophets. There is no prophet to come after him. He is the seal of the prophets. And the seal is normally affixed at the end of the writing, at the end of the document. The seal means that there is no document to come after it. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam himself, explaining this term Khatamun Nabiyyin, said, Ana Khatamun Nabiyyin. I am the seal of the prophets. I am the final of the prophets. La Nabiyya Ba'di. There is no Nabi to come after me. No Nabi after me. Isa alayhi salatu wassalam will descend from the heavens, but he will not descend as a Nabi that should be followed by the people of that time. He will not come with a new Sharia. He will not come with a new Wahi. He will still remain the Nabi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because once a person is honored with the mantle of prophethood, he remains a prophet forever and ever. So he will still remain a prophet. But he will not guide people according to his Sharia. He will guide people according to the Sharia given to our beloved Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He himself will also follow the same Sharia. An easy example to understand is that if the President of the United States was to come to our country, Great Britain, United Kingdom, he will still remain the President of the United States. That title, that position, that status will not be taken away from him. He will still be called the President of the United States of America. But whilst he is in the United Kingdom, he will have to follow the laws of this country. So when Isa alayhi salatu wassalam will descend before Qiyamah, he will remain the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But because he will be in the era of our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam's Sharia, so he will follow the Sharia of our beloved Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is the final messenger. There is no prophet to come after him. No new prophet to come after him. No prophet with a new Sharia to come after him. There is no prophet to come who will abrogate even a single law of his Sharia. His Sharia will reign till the day of Qiyamah. And the book revealed to our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is the Qur'an. If our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam is the final messenger, then this book is the final revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and also the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is Kitabullah and also Kalamullah. And there are 3 devotions associated to this book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One is tilawat, recitation of the book. This is ibadah. Recitation of the book is ibadah. Number 2, understanding the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a second ibadah. And thereafter practicing what a person has understood from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is a third ibadah. So just reciting Aqimus Salah without understanding and without practicing is ibadah. Aqimus Salah, understanding it is a separate ibadah. So if a person recited Aqimus Salah, established Salah, and he also understood the message Aqimus Salah, he went into the depth of this verse Aqimus Salah, established Salah. What is the meaning of established Salah? Perform Salah as you have been instructed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he went into the depth of this verse, referring to the books of Ahadith, referring to the books of Tafasir, books of Fiqh. He understood the word Aqimus Salah to mean that perform 5 times Salah regularly. Fajr, Zohr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. And each Salat has so many rakats. Each Salat has so many faraid, so many sunan, so many nawafil. And each rakat has so many ruku, so many sujood, so many qiyam. And in each posture a person needs to recite this. And before performing salat, there are certain things which are necessary, which are compulsory. During salat, these things are compulsory, these are masnunat, these are mustahabbat. This is understanding of the word aqimus salah. So aqimus salah, recitation, that's one ibadat. Thereafter, understanding established salah, that is another ibadat. A person reading through the books of fiqh, understanding how to perform salat, sitting in the company of the ulama and learning the masail of salat, that is understanding the word aqimus salah, the verse aqimus salah, the phrase aqimus salah. So he is not performing salat, but he is learning how to perform salat, how to carry out this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he is in ibadah. So we have a person who only recites aqimus salata, he is in ibadat. He doesn't want to learn how to establish salah, but he is saying aqimus salata, he is in ibadat. This is a separate ibadat altogether. It's got nothing to do with the other two ibadat. If a person performs salat without wudu, it will be said that salat is not valid. Why? Because they are both connected. Without wudu, you cannot perform salat. But here, if a person recites the Qur'an, does not understand it, does not practice it, one will not be able to say this is useless. This is an ibadat in its own right, reciting of the Qur'an. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahimahullah ta'ala was blessed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a beautiful dream wherein he saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he asked a few questions, one of which was that, what is the path to success? And he was told that recitation of the Qur'an. Recitation of the Qur'an, hold fast to the recitation of the Qur'an. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi asked, the recitation of the Qur'an will grant me salvation in the hereafter, but recitation whilst understanding the Qur'an or without understanding? Which recitation will grant me success in the hereafter? Which recitation will grant me salvation in the hereafter? Now, a person normally dreams according to how his state of mind is. A pious person will see pious dreams, and a sinful person will see sinful activities in his dream. Imagine the urge Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi and the likes of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi must have had to see the ummah successful, that Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi did not have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that which Qur'an, which recitation will grant salvation in the hereafter, that recitation which is carried out with understanding or that recitation which is carried out without understanding. Because Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi understood the Qur'an. But even in dream he is asking this question. And it solves the problems for all those people who recite the Qur'an without understanding. He said Qur'an will give me salvation in the hereafter, but recitation of the Qur'an, but which recitation? Whilst understanding or without understanding? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi, whether you recite with understanding or whether you recite without understanding, in both cases it will bring you salvation. Why? Because recitation on its own is a great ibadat. There is a group that says that what is the point of reciting the Qur'an without understanding? This is because of their lack of understanding for the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are unaware of the position of recitation, position of tilawah in the Sharia. What is the point of reciting something that you are unable to understand? Yes, if you read a book on law, without understanding, it is pointless. Because reading a book on law without understanding will not bring any benefit. It is related to this worldly life. So if a lawyer reads a book of law which he understands, it is beneficial because he will be able to guide people according to the knowledge that he is acquiring. And if a lawyer reads a book on law in a language that he is unable to understand, but he reads it, it is not beneficial. It will not bring any benefit. So because there is no benefit, it will be said that this action of this lawyer is useless. But when it comes to the recitation of the Qur'an, when Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam has said that only recitation will bring benefit also, so why is there a question mark? Why should people question that what is the benefit of reciting the Qur'an without understanding it? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Man qara harfan min kitabillahi falahu bihi hasanatun." One who reads one letter from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for him is one hasana. Wal hasanatu bi ashri amsalha. And one hasana equals 10 in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means if a person acquires one hasana, Allah is so kind that He will give him 1 plus 9. He will grant him 9 extra hasana. So we only have to earn 1 hasana, and Allah will grant us 9 extra hasana. And this is the least. If there is more ikhlas, sincerity, if there is more mujahada, more striving, more effort, more sacrifice, then it could be 1 plus 14, it could be 1 plus 19, it could be 1 plus 50, it could be 1 plus 100, it could be 1 plus 699. Ila sab'i mi'ati dhifin. 1 hasana will equal 700. Ila adafin kathiratin. And only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what more He will give. It could be 1 plus 1000. It could be 1 plus 1 million. 1 hasana may equal 1 million in some cases. It is for this reason Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted many people forgiveness only on the basis of 1 hasana. Then the anwar, the barakat of the Qur'an. So this is an ibadah in its own right. Recitation of the Qur'an. Recitation of the Qur'an. It's an ibadah in its own right. So each person should try to recite the Qur'an as much as possible. Recite the Qur'an without even understanding. I'm speaking especially to those people who do not understand the Arabic language. Recitation of the Qur'an. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so kind that if a person was heard holding a tasbih in his hand saying shaitan, 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 what will people say? Is he a Muslim? He's reciting tasbih of shaitan. Why is he saying shaitan, shaitan, shaitan? Without necessity, if a person says shaitan, people will say, don't say shaitan. Shaitan is not a good word to bring on your tongue. Why should a person say shaitan for no reason? Fir'aun. Why are you talking about Fir'aun? Qarun. All enemies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But my late Shaykh, Hazrat Maulana Muhammad Yusuf Ludhianvi rahimahullah ta'ala said that when a person utters the word shaitan whilst reciting the Qur'an, Allah grants him 50 hasana. Sheen, Ya, Ta, Alif and Noon. When he utters the word Inna Qaruna Kana min qawmi Musa, Qarun, Allah grants him 50 hasanat. When he utters the word Fir'aun, Allah grants him 50 hasanat. This is the barakah of the Quran. So recitation. Hold fast to recitation. Let us make a firm resolution that inshallah we will hold fast to the recitation of the Quran. What was the habit of our akabir, our mashayikh as regards to the recitation of the Quran? There were some who used to recite the Quran daily once. The whole Qur'an, once daily. If I can remember correctly, Imam Abu Bakr ibn Ayyash, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said to his students one day that for the past 30 years, I have recited the Qur'an daily. And it is possible. It is possible. They were not like us that they had so many unnecessary engagements. They did not laze around like us, wasting time. It took them 10 minutes to have their meal, 15 minutes to have their meal. Sleep, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Regarding Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, one of his students say that I spent a considerable amount of time in the company of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, and I saw him rest and lie down and sleep only during Qaylula for a few moments. Other than that, 24 hours he was engaged in ibadah, in teaching. Day was for teaching, night was for recitation of the Qur'an. When he was given ghusl, the person giving him ghusl said, may Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa. Rahimallahu Abu Hanifa. May Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa who did this. May Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa who did this. May Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa who did this. So one of the things he mentioned was that may Allah have mercy upon Abu Hanifa who completed the Qur'an in this very home 70,000 times. In this very home 70,000 times. So the Qur'an he may have recited in the masjid when he was on a journey. So why they were able to recite so much was because Shaykhul Hadeeth Maulana Muhammad Zakaria rahimahullah ta'ala, he would only engage in meeting people or talking to people during the month of Ramadan for half an hour. 23.5 hours for himself only. Sleep, eat, and ibadah. Sleep, eat, and ibadah. Sleep, eat, and ibadah. It is for this reason he was able to complete 30 Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. Every day one Qur'an, every day one Qur'an. So when we compare them with us, we find a very big question mark in our minds. How can a person complete the whole Qur'an in 24 hours with so many engagements and so many works to accomplish? Now, number one, they supervised their time. They managed their time well. They did not spend a single second in layani or a single second where it was not necessary. And number two, when a person engages in amal, slowly, Allah grants barakah. For example, a person begins with recitation of one juz. And when he begins recitation of one juz, it will take him half an hour to recite one juz. Then after 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, he decides to recite 1.5 juz. Now it's taking him 40 minutes. So instead of 1 hour and 15 minutes, Allah grants him barakah of 5 minutes more. And he manages to complete 1.5 juz in 40 minutes. And after a few more months, he will find that he is managing to complete 1.5 juz in half an hour, where he was only able to recite 1 juz. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has the ability to expand the time. In a split of second, the door could not close in Makkah Mukarramah. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam left the house of his cousin Hani radiyallahu anha, and he opened the door and he left the house, and the door was closing behind him. And he was taken for the journey of Mi'raj. And we all know the journey of Mi'raj, a very long journey from Makkah Mukarramah to Baytul Maqdis, which would take in those days 1 month to travel by camel. So 1 month going, 1 month coming, that's 2 months is just coming and going from Baytul Maqdis. From Baytul Maqdis, he went, visited the 7 heavens, and then Baytul Ma'mur, Sidratul Muntaha, Jannat, Jahannam, communicated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He returned with 50 salat. He met Musa alayhi salatu wassalam. On the 6th heaven, Musa alayhi salam said, no, it is too much. Go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So 5 times he went to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again. And he returned to Musa alayhi salam, back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Finally returned to Baytul Maqdis and returned to Makkah Mukarramah. Very long journey. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, when I returned, the door that I had left closing behind me had not closed yet. How long does it take for a door to close? A few seconds, a minute. So here, it takes the door a minute to close. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala expanded that 1 minute for Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that within that 1 minute he did so many things. So if it takes you and me a whole day to recite 10 juz, then in that whole day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will expand time for those who are very close to Him, and they will be able to recite 1 Qur'an or 2 Qur'ans or 3 or even 8. Allama Qastalani rahmatullahi alayhi has written in the commentary of Bukhari Sharif that I have heard from authentic sources that in Baytul Maqdis, in Masjid Aqsa, there was a very pious saint, Ibnul Katib rahimahullah ta'ala, Sufi Ibnul Katib rahimahullah ta'ala, and his ma'mul of recitation of the Qur'an only was that he used to recite 4 Qur'ans during the day and 4 Qur'ans during the night. 8 Qur'ans on a daily basis. This was a miracle, it was a karamat of this great Shaykh. And we believe in karamat. We believe in miracles. So there were some who would recite the Qur'an once during 24 hours. And some like Usman ibn Affan radiyallahu anhu, Tamim Dari radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, they would recite the Qur'an in 1 rakat during the night. The whole Qur'an during 1 rakat. So there were some pious predecessors who would recite the whole Qur'an daily. During the month of Ramadan, out of the month of Ramadan, daily. The other ma'mul is to complete the Qur'an every 3rd day. 10 juz daily. 10 juz daily to complete the Qur'an. My late Shaykh Maulana Muhammad Yusuf Ludhianvi rahimahullah ta'ala says that my late father, his late father, was not an alim, he was not a hafiz, but he would recite 10 juz daily from the Qur'an. So 10 juz. Then we come to those people who would recite the Qur'an on a weekly basis. Fami bishawqin. There are 7 manzils in the Qur'an. The Qur'an has been divided into 7 parts. The first part begins with Suratul Fatiha, Fa. The second manzil begins with Suratul Ma'idah, Mim. The third begins with Suratul Yunus, Fami. Fa, Mim, Ya. Easy to remember. Bishawqin, the 4th manzil begins with Suratul Bani Israel. Bishawqin, Sheen. The 5th manzil begins with Suratul Shu'ara. The 6th manzil begins with Suratul Wasafat. And the 7th manzil begins with Suratul Qaf. We are so far away from trying to complete the Qur'an on a weekly basis that those of us, the ulama, the students, who have learned this Fami Bishawqin while studying Tajweed or Qiraat during our student days, if we are asked what does Fami Bishawqin stand for, we will not be able to give the correct answer. Because we have forgotten. Because we never relate Fami Bishawqin to our tilawat. My teacher of Bukhari Sharif, Hazrat Maulana Islamul Haq Sahib rahimahullah ta'ala, from whom I learned the whole of Bukhari Sharif. I studied the whole of Bukhari Sharif. And he was a very pious personality. People you will not find a single person, I can be sure of this. You will not find a single person who will say, at least during his latter days when I saw him, you will not find a single person who will say that I saw Hazrat engaged in a layani. All those people who have seen him, you will not find a single person who will say, not even his family members, I am sure about that. He was always engaged in doing something fruitful. No layani. You will not find a single person who will say that whilst in his presence, in the presence of Maulana Islamul Haq Sahib rahimahullah ta'ala, ghiba was taking place. He would neither backbite nor would he listen to anybody's backbiting. He was teaching Bukhari Sharif. There were many lessons, many difficult lessons that he was given the responsibility for to teach. And he was in his old age. But daily he would recite one manzil. One manzil. And due to his piety, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala granted him death in Medina Munawwara during the month of Ramadan. On the 27th night, which happened to fall on Friday night, at the time of Tahajjud, whilst in sajda of Salatul Tahajjud. And he passed away in Medina Munawwara and he is buried in Medina Munawwara. When I last met him before his travel to Haramain Sharifain, I met him in Nottingham, in the madrasa of Maulana Kamal Sahib. He was invited to complete the Bukhari Sharif and he gave the final lesson of Bukhari Sharif. And after Bukhari Sharif, I said, Hazrat, your flight is tomorrow, you are going to London today. Why don't you come to Leicester and spend some time with us and then go, I will drop you to London. So he said, no, I have a very long journey ahead and I wish to go straight to London. So I said, inshallah, when you return, then from London, whilst going from London to Bolton, you pass through Leicester. So he looked at me and he said, why are you saying this? Why are you saying this that I should return again to, why don't you make dua for me that Allah accept me in Medina Munawwara? He said, for many years I am going during the month of Ramadan only to die in Medina Munawwara. He said, I cannot spend my whole life there because of the circumstances. I am not the resident of Makkah Mukarramah, Medina Munawwara. So I can only go during my holidays, that is the month of Ramadan. So when I have my vacation during the month of Ramadan, he said, every year for so many years, I am going there so that Allah grants me Jannatul Baqi, and you are saying when you return from Medina Munawwara, you pass through Leicester. Why don't you make dua that Allah accept me? Every day one manzil he would recite. And this was the practice of majority of our As-Salafus Salihin. As-Salafus Salihun, that they would recite one manzil on a daily basis. And thereafter, for weak people like us, the Mashaykh have said that the Huffaz should recite at least 3 juz on a daily basis. 3 juz at least on a daily basis. And Shaykhul Hadeeth Maulana Muhammad Zakaria Sahib Rahmatullahi Alayhi used to instruct those associated to him spiritually, the Huffaz, that recite 3 juz at least on a daily basis, majority of which should be in Salat. If a person recites 3 juz on a daily basis and majority of that in Salat, he will never be able to forget, he will never forget the Qur'an. And for the common people, laymen who are not Huffaz, who are not ulama, the Mashaykh in this day and age say that they should recite at least 1 juz. 1 juz. My late Shaykh, Hazrat Maulana Yusuf Ludhianvi rahimahullah ta'ala used to say that if a person studies primary, you cannot call him a graduate. Thereafter he passes his GCSEs, you still don't call him a graduate. He is educated, but you do not call him graduate. He completes his A levels and best of students, but you cannot call him a graduate. You can only call him graduate when he acquires BA. That is the least. So my late Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala used to say that in order to become a graduate in tilawat, the layman has to recite 1 juz. And the Huffaz has to recite 3 juz. when the layman recites 1 juz and the huffaz recite 3 juz, then they will be called graduates. That means then they will be called the reciters of the Qur'an. Then they will be called those who are fulfilling the right of the recitation of the Qur'an. And Hazrat Rahimahullah Ta'ala used to say that if a person who is a hafiz and he recites less than 3, or a non-hafiz and he recites less than 1, then he is, according to his recitation, either he is in college doing A-level GCSEs, he is in college, or he is in high school, or he is in primary, or if he is reciting only 1 ruku per day, then he is in nursery. So Hazrat Rahimahullah Ta'ala used to say that in order to be listed amongst those people who are the reciters of the Quran in the court of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Huffaz should recite at least 3 juz per day, and the non-Huffaz should recite at least 1 juz per day. But Hazrat used to say that if you are unable to recite 3 and if you are unable to recite 1, then do not remain ignorant and illiterate. At least take admission in nursery and begin reciting 1 ruku, 2 ruku, because it is from nursery that a person will excel and become a graduate. So begin somewhere at least. So let us make a firm resolution that inshallah we will recite the Quran during Ramadan and outside Ramadan. And outside the month of Ramadan, this is the nisab. Minimum 1 juz for non-huffaz and 3 juz for huffaz. Let us make a firm resolution that will be our goal from now. That 1 juz during the month of Ramadan, 1 juz if I am a non-hafiz, and if I am a hafiz, then 3 juz. And during the month of Ramadan, our akabir, our mashayikh, they used to carry out their daily amal, daily ma'amulat, and they used to spend time in their human necessities. Once the necessity was out of its way, the amal and the daily ma'amulat, for example, recitation of salat ala nabi, recitation of istighfar, recitation of kalima tayyiba, the regular ma'amul that a person has, once these things were out of the way, every extra time that they had, every free time that they had, they would put it into the recitation of the Quran. So during the month of Ramadan, our recitation should increase. There are so many people throughout the world who do not even complete 1 Quran during the month of Ramadan. I remember in my childhood that even in the village, you would see people in the masjid all the time reciting the Quran. You would not see people even in the village there where ilm and knowledge was not so much. You would not see people sitting in groups and talking in those days when I was a child. As soon as a person was free from his farming, from his work, because they had to toil very hard in the month of Ramadan as well, meager income, they could not take Ramadan off, they would not be able to support the family. They were farmers, they were working class people, laborers. So during the month of Ramadan, they would toil hard, but at the time of Asr when they would return, they would very quickly perform wudu and go to the masjid, and until Maghrib they would recite the Quran. After Maghrib they would come, have some food, and the time that they would find a few minutes between food and Isha, they would again recite the Quran. After Isha they would immediately go to sleep and try to wake up early, and they would recite the Quran at the time of Sahar. And they would compete against each other. They would ask each other, how many khatam have you made? How many khatam have you made? Nowadays, because completion of the recitation of the Quran is not important, nobody even wants to know what the other person is doing. They would compete against each other. I remember that we as children used to keep our recitation secret from the other, so that at the end of Ramadan we would ask each other and try to outwit the other. That was the zeal that people had as far as recitation of the Quran was concerned. So let us attach ourselves to the Quran. Out of Ramadan, 1 juz at least for the non-huffaz, 3 juz for the huffaz. And those of you who are in hifz, then they should put every effort on their daily lesson, on their para of sabak, on their door, their revision. And with that, begin from Suratul Fatiha and continue reciting 1 ruku, 2 rukus at least, so that the tilawa is there as well. And those who are not in Hifz class, non-Huffaz, 1 juz per day. And Huffaz, 3 juz per day. Majority of which should be in Salat. And if the Qur'an is not as firm as it should be in the memory, and one is unable to recite 3 juz, majority of which should be in Salah, then let him recite 1.5 twice. If that is difficult also, then recite 1 juz 3 times. If that is difficult, then read half a juz 6 times. If that is difficult, then recite quarter 12 times. Recite quarter 12 times, same quarter 12 times. So that will become 3 juz. And you will be able to recite that. If you read that quarter 11 times, then the 12th time it will be easy to recite it in the Qur'an. Then inshallah, slowly, this quarter will become half. That half will become 3/4, 3/4 will become 1, 1 will become 1.25, 1.25, 1.5. People have learned the Qur'an in this way. So out of Ramadan, this nisab, and during the month of Ramadan, as much as possible. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah ta'ala used to complete 61 Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. 1 during the day, 1 during the night, and 1 in Taraweeh. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullahi alayhi same, 61 Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala, there is no record of how much he used to recite, but it is said that apart from dire necessities, food, when it used to become very necessary, otherwise a very light breaking of the fast. But when it used to become very necessary to eat something, he would sit and eat. Other than dire necessities and his regular amal, mamulat and dire human necessities, he would spend all his time on the Qur'an. All his time on, no fiqh, nothing. All his time on Qur'an during the month of Ramadan. Imam Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, 41 Qur'an. 41. 1 Qur'an daily. He would begin after Maghrib and he would end at the time of Iftar. Before Iftar, he would complete the Qur'an and then make dua of Iftar and the completion of the Qur'an at the same time. And in Tahajjud, he would recite 10 juz daily. So another 10 khatam. So 30 khatam, 10 khatam, and 1 in Taraweeh. These were the ma'mul of our akabir, our mashayikh. I always tell friends that the month of Ramadan is not even for discourses. People nowadays spend their hours and hours listening to radios, listening to naat and nasheeds, listening to this and that, in layani, even in sinful activities people spend time. I said, the month of Ramadan is not even for these discourses, but these discourses become necessary because they are in our day and age like petrol for people. Without these discourses, we would not be able to utilize even a few moments of Ramadan in doing good. We would become totally neglectful. So in order to push people somehow, these discourses take place. So friends, let us spend all our time as much as possible towards the Qur'an. Hazrat Maulana Yusuf bin Nuri rahimahullah ta'ala says that I met a Qari who was a friend of mine, and his recitation was so nice. She said, I met him after Isha, and I said to him that your recitation is so nice, why don't you read some Qur'an for me? And then he says, Hazrat bin Nuri rahmatullahi, I told him that reciting the Qur'an in Salat is more virtuous than reciting outside Salat. So why don't we just stand in Nafal and perform 2 rakat Nafal and recite the Qur'an? And Shaykh rahmatullahi, Shaykh bin Nuri rahmatullahi used to mention this story with a lot of enjoyment, that how much enjoyment he found. And he said, MashaAllah, the Qari's recitation was so great, and he started, and he was flying like the train. And he said he continued to recite, and he said before I knew, in 2 rakats he completed the whole Quran. In 2 rakats he completed the whole Quran. So look at the interest of the Qari. And also Hazrat bin Nuri rahmatullahi alayhi, he did not give him lukma, that go in ruku now, Allahu Akbar, or he did not sit down during Salat. He said before I knew, he completed the whole Quran. And Hazrat Maulana Yusuf bin Nuri rahimahullah ta'ala is a great scholar of our time. Just a few years ago he passed away. He himself says that I was invited to lecture on a Friday in another town. So from Karachi I traveled to that town, and I performed my Fajr Salat in a masjid. And he said, after performing the Fajr Salat, it just occurred to me that I should engage in the recitation of the Qur'an. So he said, the shawl that was on my shoulder, he said, I spread that shawl in the masjid and I sat on the shawl and I recited the Qur'an. And he said, I just carried on reciting the Qur'an until just before Jummah Salat. About 1 hour before Jummah Salat. From Fajr until 1 hour before Jummah Salat. And he said, something between 22 to 26 juz. He said, sitting in one majlis without Qur'an in his hand, by memory, I completed 22, 23, 24, 25 or 26 juz. And he said, I was enjoying that recitation so much that if I did not have to go into another masjid, I would have completed the Qur'an there. But he said, because I had to lead Jummah in another masjid and I had to travel there, I had to leave the recitation there and I had to walk to otherwise I would have completed the Qur'an in one majlis. There are so many of our pious predecessors regarding whom it is recorded that in one majlis they completed the whole Qur'an. One majlis they completed the whole Qur'an. So let us attach ourselves to the Qur'an. So recitation of the Qur'an is an ibadat on its own. Then understanding the Qur'an. But like our Maulana instructed us, that understanding the Qur'an through authentic sources. There are certain verses of the Qur'an which are very easy to understand. وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, those people who accept Iman, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and do good deeds, أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ الْجَنَّةِ, they are the people of Jannah. Very easy to understand. There are many other ulum in there as well, which we are able to understand through the ulama, but easy to understand. A person will not get confused. But there are ayat of ahkam. There are many verses of the Qur'an which a layman will not be able to understand on his own. Even if he knows the Arabic language, he will not be able to understand by just looking at the translation. He will not be able to understand just by going through a tafsir. He will need to refer to the ulama. So understand the Qur'an through authentic sources, reliable sources, under the supervision of ulama. Sit in their durus, ask them which tafsir you should read, and wherever you are unable to understand, refer and try to understand. So understanding the Qur'an. And thirdly, to practice the Qur'an. The main maqsad of the Qur'an is practicing of the Qur'an. So these are three ibadats separately, and we should take the whole package. And those people who take the whole package, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates them. Inna Allah ta'ala yarfa'u bihadha al-kitabi aqwama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala elevates many people through this book. Those who read, those who understand, and those who practice. There are two extremes. One extreme is that recitation of the Qur'an doesn't bear any benefit whatsoever, doesn't bear any fruit whatsoever without understanding. So what's the point? That is one extreme. And the other extreme is that alhamdulillah, I'm reciting the Qur'an, so I will go in Jannah. Recitation of the Qur'an, and they don't worry about understanding, they don't worry about practicing. No, we have to become moderate and take the whole package. The right of the Qur'an, like Maulana said, number one, reciting the Qur'an correctly with tajweed, and until we are able to get a firm grip on tajweed, let us do both things simultaneously. Learn tajweed and continue reciting and asking Allah for forgiveness. Number two, understanding the Qur'an by sitting in the company of the ulama and by studying tafasir under their supervision. And number three, practicing the Qur'an. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all the tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wa aqibatu lil muttaqeen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulihi sayyidina wa maulana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا اغفر لنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم احسن عاقبتنا في الأمور كلها وأجرنا من خزي الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. لا إله إلا الله، نستغفر الله، نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. اللهم آنس وحشتنا في قبورنا. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن العظيم واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وآناء النهار واجعله لنا حجة يا رب العالمين. اللهم اجعلنا ممن يحل حلاله ويحرم حرامه ويقيم حدوده. اللهم اجعل القرآن العظيم ربيع قلوبنا وجلاء أحزاننا وذهاب غمومنا وهمومنا وسائقنا وقائدنا إلى جنات النعيم. اللهم اشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا. اللهم إنا نسألك حسن الختام والعفو عما سلف وكان. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من زوال نعمتك وتحول عافيتك وفجاءة نقمتك وجميع سخطك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من جهد البلاء ودرك الشقاء وسوء القضاء وشماتة الأعداء. اللهم اجعلنا من التوابين واجعلنا من المتطهرين واجعلنا من عبادك الصالحين المخلصين المخلصين المحبوبين المتقين. اللهم اجعلنا من أوليائك المقربين. اللهم اجعلنا من أوليائك المقربين. اللهم اجعلنا من أوليائك الصديقين. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم لا تؤمنا مكرك ولا تنسنا ذكرك ولا تهتك عنا سترك ولا تجعلنا من الغافلين. اللهم اجعل حبك أحب الأشياء إلينا. اللهم اجعل حبك أحب إلينا من أنفسنا ومن أهلنا ومن الماء البارد. اللهم اجعل وساوس قلوبنا خشيتك وذكرك. اللهم افتح أقفال قلوبنا بذكرك يا رب كل شيء بقدرتك على كل شيء. اغفر لنا كل شيء حتى لا تسألنا عن شيء. اللهم اجعل خير أيامنا يوم نلقاك فيه. اللهم اجعل خير أعمالنا خواتيمها وخير أعمارنا أواخرها وخير أيامنا يوم نلقاك فيه. اللهم اجعلنا من الذين إذا أحسنوا استبشروا وإذا أساءوا استغفروا. اللهم اجعلنا من أتقاء شهر رمضان. اللهم اجعلنا من أتقاء شهر رمضان. اللهم اجعلنا من أتقاء شهر رمضان. اللهم إنا نسألك من الخير كله ونعوذ بك من الشر كله. اللهم إنا نسألك الجنة وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل ونعوذ بك من النار وما قرب إليها من قول أو عمل. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك سيدنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذ منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولأساتذتنا ولمشايخنا ولأهلنا ولمحبينا ولمحسنينا ولمن له حق علينا ولمن أوصانا بالدعاء ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. رب اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله.
سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر. سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر.